Welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. This is a weekly update for parents on all things social media and big tech. This update is for the week of December 2nd, 2024. So much big news this week for parents. First up, today was the deadline for the U.S. Federal Appeals Court to decide on the TikTok divestiture ban law. TikTok tried to appeal the law that was passed in April, called the National Security Act. Our government found TikTok to be a national security threat given the influence of the Chinese Communist Party. So today, the U.S. Federal Appeals Court upheld the federal ban on TikTok, saying that it does not infringe on First Amendment rights and that TikTok is in fact a national security threat. What we expect now is that TikTok will appeal to the Supreme Court. A couple things to note here. If this law is upheld, it doesn't mean that TikTok is going away. TikTok itself rebranded this law as a ban because they want TikTok users to be freaking out. But what's really happening is that TikTok will be forced to sell. And there are incredible organizations like Project Liberty who are putting together a people's bid for TikTok. They want to buy TikTok and make it safer. So the issue here is around national security and getting TikTok in the hands of an organization that is in a country that's not a threat to us. Next up, down in Australia, they passed an incredible law that will age gate social media, forcing all kids under 16 off of the platforms. This is huge. It is a precedent that all countries should follow. There is currently no age verification on any of the social media companies. So there are millions of children under 13 who are not allowed to be on there who are actively using social media. The social media companies know that they're on there because they internally re-age users and don't let us know about that. So the big question that comes up for most people is how are they going to verify ages? And if this law passes in the US, are we going to have to give private information over to some company on our children? I want to read you a quote from Scott Galloway, which he wrote in the After Babel Substack just this week. The platforms could design technology that reliably collects sufficient information to confirm a user's age, then wipes the information from its servers. They could create a private or public entity that processes age verification anonymously. Scott says the reason Zuckerberg and the other access powers haven't built age verification into their platforms is it will reduce their profits because they will serve fewer ads to kids, which will suppress their stock prices, and the job of a public company CEO is to increase the stock price, period, full stop, end of strategic plan. I'm hearing about companies that already exist to anonymously and privately verify ages. So there will be more coming out on this after the Australia age gating law, and I am hopeful that we will see a similar bill proposed in 2025 here in the US. Let's talk briefly about gaming. So if your child is playing Minecraft, Roblox, or Among Us on their iPad or iPhone, there's a new tool you can use to protect them, and it's called GameSafe. What we've learned is that the built-in parental controls on these games are really terrible. And then using Apple's parental controls is even harder. Kids all over the world are getting cyberbullied and groomed every single day on these games. There was a recent report by Hindenburg Research that called Roblox a pedophile hellscape for kids. So it is important that we protect our children while they're gaming. We have to add additional layers of protection. So if your child is playing Minecraft, Roblox, or Among Us on their iPad or iPhone, GameSafe is now available to add on for free for 60 days. You can go to gamesafe.ai to download it now. An update from over at Instagram. So a couple weeks ago, Instagram announced something really interesting. They announced that they're going to allow users to reset their algorithms. Their update says, quote, "We want to make sure everyone on Instagram, especially teens, has a safe, positive, age-appropriate experience and feels the time they're spending on Instagram is valuable. That's why we've started testing the ability for everyone on Instagram, including teens, to reset their recommendations." So this is interesting to me. And in this update, they're admitting that the algorithm can be harmful to teen users. They're admitting that they're not succeeding in cleaning it up and removing the harmful content from the suggestions that are being made to teens. So now I guess they've just given up and said, we'll allow you a complete reset. Once again, putting the responsibility on us to keep our kids safe, or on our kids to keep themselves safe. But isn't the algorithm just going to do the same thing it already does? Keep prioritizing harmful content to our children. So this feature will roll out globally soon. I'll include more info on this in the episode notes if anyone is up for learning more or trying the reset. Meta also made an announcement this week that they are cracking down on organized crime. So here's what's happening. Scammers are connecting with users on social media. They're building personal relationships and then manipulating users to deposit money into an investment scheme, often cryptocurrency, and ultimately they lose that money. This is called something weird. It's called pig butchering. And last year, about $64 billion was stolen worldwide because of these scams. So Meta announced that they've removed 2 million accounts linked to these scam centers just this year. But this threat still exists. So if your child is on social media, you need to warn them about financial scams, that people they meet online are not safe to give money to. And also be sure to talk to your kids about another scam called sextortion. This involves crime groups pretending to be teen girls. They're mainly targeting teen boys and flirting until the boy sends a nude image. Then the scammers demand money. We've lost at least 40 teenage boys to suicide after becoming victims of sextortion on Instagram or Snapchat. So remind your kids that they cannot trust strangers on social media and to never share a nude image. I have lots of interviews about sextortion on the podcast, and I will link to a couple of those in the episode notes. Let's talk about Snapchat. First up, there was a huge update in a parent lawsuit against Snapchat. This lawsuit is called Neville et al. Versus Snap. It involves 60 plus families, most of which lost a child due to a Snapchat drug dealer selling them a fentanyl-laced pill. This lawsuit has been on a stay for 9 months. It can be so difficult and often impossible for families to get any justice after their children are harmed on social media. But yesterday, the California Court of Appeals denied Snapchat's attempt to appeal this lawsuit. The lawsuit now moves forward to discovery, which means that Snap can be held accountable for its own actions and its own decisions to not protect these children. Snapchat has been a huge contributor to the fentanyl crisis. They've gone unchecked for far too long, and it's time to put our kids first. So this is great news, and I will be covering this lawsuit closely as it moves forward. One more update on Snapchat. So if your child is on Snapchat, you need to know that there is a GPS locator called Snap Map, where your child can share their live location with anyone they've accepted as a friend on the app, even if that friend is a stranger. This is a huge privacy risk. It's connecting predators and drug dealers directly with your children. And it's also a huge source of FOMO for kids. Imagine seeing all your friends together somewhere on a map and you weren't invited. Should teens even be able to see where their friends are all the time? I would say no. But anyway, Snapchat has now made Snap Map available in the Family Center, meaning parents and caregivers can send a request to their children to share their live location. If their child accepts this, you'll be able to see where your child is through Snap Map. And Snapchat says that soon they will roll out the ability for parents to see which friends your kid shares their location with on Snap Map. That is a good update. I hope they roll that out. But my main concern is, what teen is going to accept a request from their parent to track them? Teens don't want their parents tracking them. A helpful addition would be to have parents see all of this data without the teen being able to turn it off or have to accept it. Better yet, stop allowing teens to share their location with strangers on SnapMap. Last update for this week is about Telegram. If you don't know, Telegram is an end-to-end encrypted messaging app. It's super unsafe for kids and teens because nothing is trackable. It's literally where predators take teenagers to exploit them and groom them. So back in August, Telegram CEO Pavel Durov was arrested in France on charges including being complicit in spreading child sexual abuse imagery and trafficking drugs. So fast forward to this week, Telegram has made a huge announcement. Telegram has joined the Internet Watch Foundation in cracking down on child sexual abuse imagery on their platform. Telegram will now deploy new tools to proactively prevent CSAM from being spread in public parts of its platform, and known child sexual abuse imagery will be blocked and prevented. So this is good news, and we'll see how it rolls out, but I would encourage parents to still not allow their child to download Telegram or any fully encrypted messaging app. It's just not trackable and not safe. There are so many safer options. If I still have your attention, there's a couple teasers I want to give you. So on Tuesday, there's two big things dropping. There's a new report on a major platform that your child probably spends time on that you're going to want to know about. I will have a podcast episode about that. There's another concerning news item that is the worst thing that I've ever heard. That will drop Tuesday morning as well. And I want to warn you now that it will be concerning but important for you to listen. So stay tuned for both of those items. And that is it for the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death this week. I will be in touch next week.